This is the piece I really wanted to get into. Devers recruiting Soto.
No.
I don't feel that. I mean, right, maybe he'll make restaurant recommendations.
I mean, maybe
does he feel like a guy who's actually out front recruiting it? Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm way off on that, but he doesn't feel like that.
I don't get that sense. Maybe he's a very different person. Maybe we don't know him at all. Maybe he's very outgoing and he's good friends with Juan Soto and everything else, and that's the convincer. But I don't think we need to overthink it, Eduardo Perez. I think it's going to come down to money. And, I think if you want to talk about tax-free states versus, tax-heavy states, that's different.
Keefe, as the text line points out, you of all people, with the food, you should be in on this.
That's true.
Keefe and food, geez, says the text line. This should be...
That's a good point.
Yeah. This is operating in your territory.
If we get Juan Soto on, I will ask him about the food. I promise you that. I'll have a food question for him. No, but this is kind of that is a leap, I would say. I don't think it's happening.
No, me either. But I will agree, and Tomasi wrote this last night today at NBC Sports Boston. I do think at least getting a meeting with Juan Soto is significant isn't the right word for it.
No.
It's a step. And
you're kind of like Greg. We were doing the crossover this morning. Greg thinks.
Oh, did Greg?
Greg's very they could sign Juan Soto. Everybody else on the show is like, I don't think so.
Okay. Do I think they're going to? No. Absolutely no, I don't think that. Okay. Could they? Yeah, I mean, they're one of the 6 teams having a meeting with them. So
they could do anything. It's the United States of America.
But not every team could do this. Like Tampa being linked to him, they can't. They won't. Kansas City can't. There are some markets that can't. The Red Sox are one of the markets and teams that can and has signed significant big-ticket free agents before. And again, I'll just go through the
when was the last big-ticket free agent they signed?
Last big-ticket free agent they signed? Was it Price? Was it Price? It was probably Price,
Dave
right?
Dombrowski, Price.
Am I missing someone since then? That's the one that jumps out in my head. Am I missing someone since then?
Because Trevor Story, to me, doesn't fit the bill.
I would agree. That
was the biggest Chaim Bloom signing,
That's not what we're talking about. But let me tell you, John Henry has said we're not signing pitchers in their 30s. By John Lester, not happening. Then they go out and sign David Price.
Yes.
He said, we're not paying Mookie Betts. We're not going to pay that kind of contract. That's stupid. They didn't, but they turned around and paid Devers. Now, look, that was a massive mistake and miscalculation.
Yeah.
And they screwed it up. And it was probably a make-good for letting Betts and Bogarts leave. Maybe Juan Soto's a make-good for all the crapping on Red Sox fans they've done for the last 5 years. So, I don't rule that out.
I get it.
I wouldn't wager on it. I don't expect it. But I just don't rule that out because they've had so many pivots like that over the years.
It's the best argument for it. Now, they've also, in those times, had big changes in who was actually kind of running the team. I know John Henry owns the team, but they had big swings from Ben Cherington to Dave Dombrowski to Chaim Bloom, less of a swing to Craig Breslow, right? So, Dave Dombrowski came in, and they let him do Dave Dombrowski stuff.
Yeah, no, Bloom to Breslow was not enough of a swing. That was
a lateral move.
A little bunt.
That was a little bunt single, trying to bunt for a hit.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if there's going to be enough of a shift there. I also think, the David Price contract was a massive, massive contract. And then Rafael Devers a few years later was a big contract too, but now it's a position player, $300+ million. Are they really ready to go to $600 million? I don't think so. So even if your point is hey, they've kind of gone back on what they've done or contradicted themselves or they're hypocrites, whatever you want to say, they've changed course. This seems so extreme to me that's why I give it no chance.
Okay, here's what I also find, again, I keep wanting to say the word significant, but now I'm overstating it. Here's what I find noteworthy is they care on some level, even if they're just playing the optics game. They're just taking a meeting. How stupid do you think Red Sox fans are? They're going to fall for it. Come on. I think the fact they even care about trying to dupe Red Sox fans tells you they care about losing you. I was worried, Keefe. They didn't care. Yeah. They're just they just spit in your face. We're not going to. You think we're going to meet with Shohei Ohtani? We're not even going to waste our time.
Didn't meet with him
to meet with Shohei Ohtani. And so on some level, they care enough to at least play the optics game. Maybe they're fooling you. Maybe they're just trying to trick you. Maybe they think you're stupid, but they at least care a teeny tiny little bit in their Grinch hearts. As I said the other day,
that is
there's still
optimistic.
There's still a teeny tiny Grinch heart in there somewhere that maybe can grow back.
Go 10 sizes.
They haven't totally just said screw them. I don't even care what the optics look like because screw them. That to me is at least a minor little positive thing that is different than Ohtani. That's tangibly different than last year with Ohtani.
Fair. So maybe that's the case. I would look at it more twofold. One, I do think they think Red Sox fans are stupid, and they want to be able to.
They do.
They want to be able to tell you that they were in on it because for some reason they think that looks good or will play well. Also, I wonder if they meet with Soto only to sort of see if the Yankees overreact to it and say, well, we can't lose them to the Red Sox. Are the Red Sox players to get in this? We'll offer you $700 million just to try to raise the price on the Yankees. And you could make the argument that, maybe they could have done that with Ohtani, but kind of felt like the Dodgers were going to be where he goes anyway. So this might be sort of a Yankee move as well as anything else.
So the more I think about, where do you think he winds up?
New York.
Which
I'll go.
I think it's the Mets.
You do?
Yes.
I think the Yankees
the
panic and resign.
The Steinbrenner kids are also cheap. Like, if we want to criticize the Red Sox for being cheap and not running things the way they used to run it, the Steinbrenner kids are cheap. And so
I would say those are the two, and for my opinion, the two heavy favorites. I wouldn't be shocked by the Mets, but my prediction will be the Yankees.
I mean, the way the Yankees spend is greater than John Henry and the Red Sox these days, but it's not the way they used to spend. My guess would be the Mets. I don't get texts like this, 37937. It would be idiotic, all caps, to spend $600 million on one player not named Ohtani.
Well, I think
I heard a ton of this last year. People were like, "You can't spend." We thought it was going to be $600 for Ohtani. It turned out to be $700.
Which he's not getting any until whatever 2050.
Yeah, exactly. When Lucas is out of college. But the idea of you're going to pay Ohtani all this money? That's stupid. He's not even going to pitch for you. Was the dumbest take ever. That was so stupid. He's so worth it, even if he doesn't pitch.
He was in the 50-50 club.
Never mind
everybody's
if he pitches
paying
on top
attention
of
to
it.
him.
I never got that last year.
It's not even like Juan Soto's close to his 30s yet.
Red Sox fans,
He's a young gun.
Red Sox fans, Red Sox media were like, "You can't pay Ohtani. He's not even going to pitch this year."
Yeah, you can.
Guess
First of all,
what?
you can and you should have.
You should have.
Also, but this is a good time to.
Soto's in that same boat. He's 1,000% worth the contract. What are you talking about?
Well, it's also, I think, just hard. It's hard for me to wrap my head around the new numbers in all the sports.
Yeah.
Because if you look at what Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum make annually, it's insane. Because I'm still of the mindset, I don't know how many other people are, where $20 million was a lot of money.
Yeah.
$20 million, like Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez.
Is that right, Billy? That's probably my threshold too. I hear $20 million
was a big one.
AAV, and I'm like, "Woo,
that's a ton of
And
money."
he earned it.
Yeah. He did.
Manny did.
But now you're like, oh, right, they're making $50 million.
$60 million.
Right, yeah.
$70 million.
Yeah.
And so it's like, all right, if you take a guy who is in his mid-20s and you're also signing him for 13 years, potentially, and you're giving him $600 million, even like the Mookie Betts deal. Mookie Betts got a ton of money, and then when you look at it, you're like, he's making $30 million a year.
He was a heist.
And for an MVP candidate every year and a guy with personality, and I don't know, these teams make a ton of money. And I know a lot of people ask, how the hell are baseball teams making this much money? They have these crazy TV contracts. They play 1 million games, so they're on TV all the time, and they have the money to spend. So you have to sort of take what you thought a big contract was and double it now.
This one's more fair. I still disagree with it, but it's more of a discussion to me. 37937. Would you rather, Keith, this question for yesterday.
Yeah.
Would you rather take the $600 million and spend it on 3 $200 million players or even 6 $100 million players? Or would you rather have the one? Yeah. In other words, would you rather say you're spending $600 million either way?
Yeah.
How would you spread it out? I would rather they get this team desperately needs star power. I would rather they spend the 600 on one.
It's a great question. I would say the way this team is set up right now with so many possibilities of young players fitting on the team, I would take the super duper star, the $600 million guy, and pair him up with everybody else you have.
So, yeah, that one to me is more of a discussion. Not is he worth the $600 million? Yeah, he's worth it.
Yep.
How do you spend the $600 million to me is a better debate. 617-779. 793.7. You think, Keith, I believe, I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Do not you dare put words in my mouth.
But I say there's no real downside to taking the meeting. You should always take the meeting. They didn't take the meeting with Ohtani last year. I think that's more embarrassing than just going through, the dog and pony show to just show fans that you're in the mix, the interest kings, that whole thing. You actually think it's worse to take the meeting just to string fans along,
I just think it gets the hopes up a little bit. Whereas if they don't, maybe because we're already so beaten down by all these players that you didn't get. I'm still hung up on Mookie Betts. That'll be something that I'm probably hung up on for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And my kids are going to be like, stop talking about Mookie Betts. Move on. Move on. You don't even know this man. Stop talking about him. So I think there is some of that. But I just think you're now pretending that you're a player when you're really not a player in it. And I just won't believe it until they actually get one. It's the same thing you can apply to the Patriots at this point. Oh, we're in on DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley and Brandon Ayuk and all these. Are you?
Right.
You talk to them. Some of them came through the locker room.
Wake me up when you get one.
Sign one. Sign one. And maybe eventually both of these teams will. And then I'll be like, all right, I was wrong for, not getting my hopes up. But it feels like that's what you're doing. It's like, hey, they're in on Juan Soto. It's like, they are? Like, no, I won't talk myself into it. And then it goes on. It's like, well, yeah, they're meeting with him. And you're like, oh, well, man, they could bring him in. And then when he goes to the Yankees, or stays with the Yankees or goes to the Mets, it's going to be more demoralizing than, like last year, they didn't sign Shohei Ohtani. But did you ever once for a second think that they would? No.
I mean, I was trying to talk it into existence.
Well,
but no,
I wanted it to
realistically,
happen.
No.
But there was zero rumors of it even being a consideration. So then when he signed somewhere else, you're like, oh, okay, at least it wasn't in the division. No, that was my thought.
The best rumor was he is sponsored by New Balance and their headquarters here. That was about the only good rumor that was with him last year. Yeah.
Really, last year was just don't go to the Blue Jays or the Yankees. Mm-hmm. You get him into the National League even better, so you could avoid him. But yeah, with Juan Soto, like I just think there's going to be a small percentage of the Sox fan base is going to be crushed when they don't get him, and it's like, well, they never really were.
Buster only yesterday on Garrett Crochet. Red Sox are expected to be in on pitching. I would guess more likely of the trade variety than signing Corbin Burns or even Max Fried. But that seems to be the word around baseball, and that I believe more than this being linked to Soto. I hope they're in on Soto, but people around baseball seem to believe they're going to be in on pitching trades and arms.
Well, it's funny. I was looking at the MLB's top free agents, and they're their top 10 free agents, and then for each player, they have 3 potential fits. Red Sox names actually popped up on 2 pitchers.
Sasaki?
No, Corbin Burns and Jack Flaherty.
Not Fried.
Not Fried for some reason. He's on this list.
Did it get that far down the list to like the Evaldis and Walker Buehlers of the world?
I only was looking at the top 10, but I think I can keep scrolling down and find some.
Because my guess, Evaldi and Walker Buehler feel like the tier of free agent they'll be in on, but I believe Crochet.
Teoscar Hernandez, if you're getting into like position players, was on the list. For some reason, they weren't one of the 3 potential fits for Evaldi, which I feel like
maybe he just wants to go somewhere more.
Yeah, maybe
that's possible. But I bet they'll show interest. To me, the Crochets and Logan Gilberts of the world, I think they're going to be in on those guys. Here's what Olney wrote. He said Craig Breslow, head of baseball operations for the Red Sox, oversees a system teaming with 4 elite prospects. You know them, Anthony, Teal, Meyer, and Campbell. He says the Red Sox also have to make a decision on whether to move Rafael Devers to first base, which could free up Tristan Casas. So the Red Sox are fully capable of putting together an offer to land Crochet. And if that happens, said one rival evaluator, they would compete for the playoffs next year. So I don't know that I fully agree with that, but a rival evaluator says one trade, Garrett Crochet, they're competing for the playoffs next year.
I believe it only because with the extra wild card spot, each of the last 3 years, for much of the season, they competed for a wild card spot. They usually kind of bungle the trade deadline and then fall out of it after that. But like right around the trade deadline, to me, they're competing for a playoff spot. So if you add an ace pitcher, then sure.
Breslow is seen as more deliberate. No way. In his decision-making than Dombrowski or A.J. Preller, who he's comparing to.
That's a nice
baseball.
way of putting it.
Yeah, it is.
He's deliberate.
Very favorable. And he might prefer keeping his homegrown guys than spend dollars on pitching. And spend dollars on pitching rather than prospects. In theory, they could sign Burns or Fried, hoard the prospects, but the Red Sox have the financial and prospect ammunition to take either path. Would you rather they trade for a Gilbert and a Crochet? This is an either or. They could do both, obviously. Would you rather they trade for Gilbert, Crochet, or sign Burns, Fried and keep their prospects?
Burns, Fried, keep the prospects.
I think I'd rather they trade the prospects and get.
Really?
Yeah, I just
love Burns. Maybe I have a blind spot for Burns.
I just like a younger arm than signing guys closer to 30.
Well, what's Fried? Burns is 30. Is Fried also 30?
Was late 20s. I could be wrong.
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right. Oh God, he's 31. He's actually older.
So there you go.
All right, never mind.
So that would be the one reason. And honestly, I'm okay with moving prospects. Moving prospects doesn't scare me.
I'm not anti that, but I just think when you have options that are there that you can just sign, like, all right,
it's just money.
It's just money.
That's fair. Sorja is in Mansfield. Go ahead, Sorja.
Jones and Keefe, how are we today?
Great. How are you?
Doing well. Really quick here on the Red Sox. I mean, I'm one of the few, the proud, but I want to say, let's just get Soto. Let John Henry open up the checkbook. What are you waiting for? Like, this is what pisses me off with the owners, right? So they're like, okay, $600 million is too much. You could have just paid Mookie like 5 years ago, and you would have saved. It would have been a killing, right? And you talk about all the prospects that the Red Sox have. I would love to see Brez move on from some of these prospects. Like, we have this fascination. I think we have, the top 5 or top 10 prospects. So you get Soto, you get Flaherty. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Flaherty in the World Series. He was absolutely killing it. But I've just been really upset with this Red Sox product that I'm seeing because, like you said, Keith, they're hanging around, but then every time we played the Tigers to move up in the standings, we couldn't get there. So,
yeah. So Sorja, I think if they're going to be consistent, I mean, number one, I think they liked being competitive last year and not having much payroll. But if they're going to be consistent, they would sign Burns or Flaherty, even guys like that, to supplement their young core and let the prospects come up. That would be consistent with the plan they've been selling us on. The problem is the Red Sox are never consistent. They always pivot. Just when you think they're going to zig, they zag.
But there's also a huge difference in signing Corbin Burns or Lucas Giolito, was what they did last year.
Yeah.
So even if he pitched, you're like, all right, that's a middle-of-the-road guy.
I thought you were going to say a big difference between even Burns and Soto, which is true.
Well,
yes,
that's also true. But it is amazing. There should be a lesson in there. He brings up, had you signed Mookie Betts, you could have had him for half the price of Juan Soto. Just like you could have had Xander Bogaerts for half the price of Xander Bogaerts if you just did it sooner. Nobody wanted the Padre deal, and he might just break down and whatever else, but you could have had him for a song. This is one pitch that I have. I've made it before. If you're not going to sign Juan Soto, if you're not going to spend...
I thought you were making a food to Juan Soto, or a pitch with the food to Juan Soto.
It is food related.
Yeah, okay, nice, good.
Yeah, it should shocking to no one. This is, I think, is only a fair trade-off. If you don't sign anybody, let's say $200-300 million or more to a contract this year, you have to have dollar dog night once a week. Tuesdays, $1 dogs.
Something back to the fans.
Give something back. We can't have the highest concession stands in baseball and no marquee players.
I like this. If you're not going to spend on free agents,
knock the hot dogs down. $1. Dollar hot dog.
Dollar dog night.
Yeah.
I'm in.
One night a week?
Let's start a movement.
Dollar dog.
Did you already start this movement? Am I late to this movement?
I think it fizzled out, but yeah, I tried it years ago.
Okay, well,
I don't know if it worked.
Let's bring that back.
So Juan Soto or
a dollar dog night pressure campaign.
Let me ask you this, fan.
What?
Would you rather Juan Soto or dollar dog night once a week at the park?
I think I would rather the dollar dog night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Family Franks?
Feed
for a buck?
Feed a family on that.
I will say if you hang around the food areas around the seventh inning, when they start getting rid of the food, they will give you free dogs.
What?
Yeah, last time.
Nick's rigged the system over here.
He's like, hey, you guys want dogs?
Getting the day olds over here?